Well, welcome to Conscious Living Parents, where we talk conscious parenting, partnering, personing, and everything else in between. Well, today's guest, you know her really well.
Yes, I'm very excited to have Melissa on board. Welcome to our podcast. Now, Melissa was my hypnobirthing coach for baby Tala. I've spoken about it on my social media, but my birth with Taj was quite traumatic, and I really just was super uneducated. Just didn't really know what to expect, went in a little bit naive, and really wanted to get some help and assistance to have a more beautiful experience and just prepare my body and my mind mainly with hypnobirthing, because a lot of my friends had done it. You had done it.
Yeah.
And had such great, a great experience. So I got Melissa to come around to our house and teach Steve and I all the skills. But before we get into it, I would love to hear you explain to everyone what exactly is hypnobirthing, because when I spoke about it on social media, my DMs exploded, being like, "What is hypnobirthing? What's this?" So could you tell us in a few, in an easy to digest way, what is hypnobirthing?
Well, I know it sounds a little bit hippy-dippy, but it actually isn't. It should be mainstream. It is a positive birth. It's just a positive approach to birth. So it's an antenatal program which covers tools so that you can stay calm throughout your pregnancy as well as your birth, and then into your conscious parenting journey. It includes knowledge so that you know what's happening during the intensity of labour, and it's just easier to deal with it when you know what's happening within your body. And also that knowledge helps you to make informed decisions, because sometimes birth takes a different turn, but you want to be making informed decisions along the way. It includes support, and so your partner becomes a huge part of a hypnobirth. And who is better to play that role of your supportive partner in birth than someone who loves and cares for you? So the course is actually for both the birthing mother and the birth partner. So the birth partner knows their role, but also it's teaching you about the support of your caregivers as well, so that you can have informed decisions with your caregivers along the way. And finally, it is preparation, and it's preparation of the mind and body, which I know is so in alignment with what you have always talked about and what this podcast is about. So I'm so excited to be here.
There's so much to it, isn't it? But yeah, education and preparation, they're definitely two big words that I take away from what you've just said. And it was so helpful. Like, even if your birth doesn't go to plan, like I had a girlfriend who had a cesarean, you actually taught her as well. And her birth did not go to plan, but all the tools that she learned through your course helped her still remain calm and be present and still enjoy that process, even though it wasn't what she had planned. And for Steve as well, like, he's not one to study birth or study labor or anything, but he learnt so much from you on what happens at what stages and how he can support in each and every single stage. And I say to everyone, like, Steve was like my pain relief, because he was just so present. I've never felt like more connected and in love and like just a team in that moment. So like, as much as like pushing out a baby can be challenging and hurt sometimes, that process of just having his support and having his presence and knowledge behind the whole process was so invaluable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it was, as a guy, it gives you something to do and makes you feel like you are equally part of it, even though you're only doing this small part. But I felt like I just was massaging for 20 hours, but it was like, this is, I'm pressing the specific little points and when I notice her breath get faster, just, I guess
Prompt.
role modeling and getting her to slow down. And it just felt like, what a way to bring a new person into the world, like as a super team, rather than just the dad on the outside going like, nervous. And I don't know, I don't know if it had a lot to do with, but I know Steve's a lot more connected this second time. And I just felt connected from the moment like Neve was born. And I really feel like it was because we had this, I was part of the process. It felt so beautiful. It must be something you get a lot or get feedback a lot.
Well, I experienced it myself. That's why I do what I do. My husband was a huge part of our births, and it's about conscious parenting right from the beginning. And I like the word you used then was teamwork. And that's what it is. It's teamwork. And obviously the birthing mother is going through the physical intensity. And Levi, you went through the physical intensity of light touch massage probably for hours, but that ain't nothing compared to what we go through with the intensity of labor. But yeah, it's about that working together as a team as we do through life, and we each do our part, but we're working towards the same goal. And so it's such an awesome way to bring your baby into the world and to start that parenting journey on the outside. When you, even if birth doesn't go according to plan, etc., when you feel like you made informed decisions along the way, you were prepared for this, the best that you could be for the circumstances that you had. You worked together as a team. It's not like you were in the back seat of a runaway car and someone else was driving. You're in the driver's seat and you're making the decisions. And so when you birth your baby and you work with that teamwork and that knowledge, etc., you come out feeling so empowered. And you know that if you can do that, you can do anything. And parenting is hard. You know, people have often said to me, Melissa, why don't you write a parenting course? And I'm like, you got to be joking. This, like, I'm winging it myself as a parent.
Yeah.
It's hard. But
It definitely is.
Yeah, oh yeah, especially those first months. So yeah, cred to you, Ashy. I know what you're going through right now.
She's actually, I feel like she's been so much easier. But when I said this to my mum's like, I said, oh, she's such a chill, relaxed baby. And she's like, yeah, but you're more chill and relaxed. She's definitely feeling your energy and how you are with her. And I was like, yeah. And from get-go, like even the birth, like it went for 12 hours. I think Taja's went for 16, but for that whole 16 hours until I had epidural, it was just traumatic. The whole birth was just stressful. So no wonder he was more of a stressed baby, whereas Tala is definitely so much more relaxed. But what I wanted to bring up too is a lot of people think hypnobirthing has to be like a silent birth, totally calm, just breathing your way through. And of course, like that is beautiful, and I was calm probably 9, maybe 10 hours out of my 12-hour labor. But when it came to pushing, I mooed, I hummed, I cried. And I remember my birth photographer, who's also trained in hypnobirthing, and she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, just to remind you, hypnobirthing doesn't have to be silent. If you need to cry, if you need to scream, whatever you need to do in your moment and what feels good for your body, that is still hypnobirthing. Just like own what your own experience doesn't have to look a certain way of what you've seen someone else go through. But it brings me to another point. What we see on movies is just women like their water's breaking, splash, screaming in the hospital. And we grow up thinking that birth has to be painful, has to be this traumatic experience, which it just doesn't have to be like that, right?
No, you can write your own story. And it's ultimately, it's about release. And for a human body to come out of your body, it requires release. And if that release requires some mooing, I'm with you. I mooed Darcy, our third. I mooed him into the world. So, and I had the silent birth for my first and second too, but I was very much more vocal for my third. You just do what you need to do to release, to let go, to surrender. And then that just allows your body to do what it's designed to do. Because women in comas give birth. So we don't have to actually force the baby out. And the depictions that we see in Hollywood and Netflix and whatever, like it kind of makes out as if we have to be holding our breath and going purple in the face, and we have to force this body out of our body. When it's actually not. Now that I think of it, and as I'm talking, it's so much like parenting, isn't it? Because the same way that we bring our body into the world, which is we allow, we surrender, and we open up. We really have to do that as a parent too. We have to surrender. We have to open up. We have to be vulnerable. And I can't personally think, I don't know about you, Ashy, but I can't think of a more vulnerable position that I've been in my life than birth.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Well, what I got most from the hypnobirthing, what Clara got, was she was incredibly, because I feel this is one of my pet peeves I've noticed is as soon as someone says they're pregnant, every female friend of theirs comes in with a million war stories about how much they tore, how painful it was. And by coming closer to our first pregnancy, like Clara was just like, before we'd done the course, so nervous. And after we'd done the practice and everything, she felt confident and almost empowered. Like, it was like this mindset of like, my body's supposed to do this. And it's got everything it needs. And she was just calm. And going into our second birth, it's like, we're having it at home now. She is just, just
Entrusting.
100%, entrusting her body. And she knows that, if you want to yell or whatever, it's all about just creating safety. Whatever you're doing, it's okay. And knowing that it's okay keeps you calm. And, I guess it's important to note too that hypnobirthing doesn't guarantee a no problem birth, right? But it helps optimize it. It's the same as eating healthy doesn't guarantee you're never going to get a health issue. It just makes it better. It makes it less likely.
A good thing to bring up is, you might still need a cesarean, you might still tear, you might opt for gas, or whatever your choices are, but hypnobirthing is giving you a lot of tools and techniques to help you remain calm and present and in your body and trusting your body. But also the education. Let's move on to I didn't realize how much power I had in just, who's in the room and how dark the room is, or how much noise and energy, how many midwives are there, like all those choices. You just think, you kind of feel so vulnerable. And there was a point when they were getting my placenta out, and me and Steve were just overwhelmed. Tala was on my chest, but they said, do you want the injection? I was just like, to get the placenta out quicker. And I didn't even get a chance. She just put it in. Didn't even get a chance to think and know. And Steve was overwhelmed as well. And afterwards, he's like, I'm so sorry I didn't speak up more, but I just, she's like, it'll get it out quicker. Jam, the needle goes. And then they're pushing on my stomach. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And afterwards I was like, I just wanted to allow my body to just, if I just birth a child, I can birth my placenta. I don't need your assistant to push my tummy. But if you don't have, and I was just overwhelmed. I wish I could go back and change that, is what it is. But the education behind that, I feel like this needs to be taught more and spoken about more, that you have choice and you have power, and just speak up.
That's it. And no regrets either, because you know what, for both births, Ashy, you did the best you could to bring your baby into the world safely, with love, sacrificing. We as the birthing mother, we put our lives on the line to bring our baby into the world. It hurts my heart to think of the women who carry birth trauma with them and regrets and feel, I should have done this, I should have done that. You know what? Please, and if there's any listeners out there that feel that way, please stop beating yourself up about this. You did an awesome job. You made the best decisions you could with the circumstances that you had and with the knowledge that you had at that time. And then,
true.
And if you do decide to have another baby, well, you know more now. Go book into a Hypnobirthing Australia course.
Yes. And that's nice you've said that, because I'm sure there is so many women out there just carrying so much guilt and shame. Like, before even speaking to you, I definitely did. I was like, how could I be so naive? And Steve felt the same. We used to say, we're just so stupid. Why didn't we research? Why didn't we get help? No wonder it was so traumatic. But yeah, you have to let go of that. And you're right. In any situation, you do the best you can with the knowledge you have. But that's why knowledge is power. And that's why if you are sick, you go to a doctor. If you need help with your health, you go to a naturopath. With your fitness, you go to a personal trainer. With birth, you go to a hypnobirth coach. You get the assistance and the support that you need.
And it actually equates to outcomes too. So you mentioned before about hypnobirthing, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to have a natural birth. That's it's a misconception out there that hypnobirthing is about natural birth. It's actually not. It's about positive birth. Well, there's different hypnobirthing courses. Ours is the Hypnobirthing Australia course. So our course is actually run, it's Australia's leading course, and it's actually run across 21 over 21 hospitals in Australia. So in Bunbury Hospital, which is a major hospital in Western Australia, they collected outcomes. And I think this is important to note, because when you can have actual statistics and outcomes, it's not fluff. We're not saying, you'll have a better birth if you do this. No, this equates to outcomes. So the parents who did our course, as opposed to the parents who didn't do our course, there was a 52% reduction in non-elective cesarean births, a 40% reduction.
Huge.
I know, crazy, right? A 40% reduction in morphine use, a 32% reduction in epidurals, and it goes on and on and on. And when they collected these outcomes, like these are amazing outcomes. And when they, and this was collected independently, I had nothing about this. This isn't me getting on and doing a, like a survey monkey sort of thing on my website or anything like that. This is actually a hospital, like a government-run hospital, collecting outcomes. And this was the result. And so they were so impressed, they ran it out across the whole of Western Australia Country Health Service. So if the hospitals and the health departments are onto this, which they are, I think that's a very good indication that we all need to think more about how we prepare for birth, rather than spending all of this time worrying about, which pram are we going to get, or how are we going to decorate the nursery,
yes,
or stuff like that. I actually think about, like, you can get a new pram. I went through so many prams through 3 children. You kind of think, you buy a fancy pram and then it's too hard to put up and down, so you go, you just sell it, and then you get another one, and then you find that's too heavy, and then you get another one. I did that over and over. But you can't do that with your birth. You get one shot at birthing your baby, and your baby gets one opportunity to be birthed into this world. So prepare. It's so important.
Definitely.
And that makes you feel calm too, right? Like that's what I was so happy about, is like when we're talking birth plans, we were like, okay, if B happens or A happens, we're, like our midwife was like doing this course, allowed us to know how to communicate better with our midwife and to say, okay, when this happens, this is what we want to happen. So if we're overwhelmed or whatever, if this happens, this is where we're going. And so we went in with worst case to everything, and even going through all the scenarios ahead of time, which was sort of recommended in the course, it again just helped like Clara feel calm, but me feel calm too. I was like, okay, I know that I'm not going to have to stand up and make a scene here or anything like that. I don't have to worry about that. I can just be massaging and we're comfortable in knowing that, hey, at any point, and when there was a point there in the little, like, if a C happens, then we go with whatever the midwife says. And it was like, yep, we're all happy with that. Gee, I feel calm moving into
so much more prepped. It's beautiful. Love that.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. And, you made those decisions together. So now that you have your babies and you're in this parenting journey where you have so many decisions to make, don't you? Like, it's the pregnancy and the birth, that's just the beginning. And then the parenting gig comes about, and then you're making decision after, even right from the beginning, immunizations and things like that. You're making decision. Yeah. So when you know that you could make those informed decisions through birth, which is just so important and so intense, and you could do that consciously and calmly, and you prepared the best you could, then you know that you're going to be very, very capable of doing that through the whole parenting journey, and you're going to be empowered parents too, and conscious parents.
Conscious parents. One thing I loved about the course too, I loved so much about it, was the fear release, like that we did a lot of work around releasing fear. And it's interesting because throughout the time that you would come to our house and teach us, I'd feel really good, and then someone would tell me a horror story. Or I remember the first time I went for, I called you afterwards actually, I sent you a big long voice messages in tears because I was feeling all empowered and feeling really good, and went to the hospital to look around the ward and the rooms and stuff. And it's like the memories of Taj's birth just came flooded over me. I just was holding back my tears, and I felt so anxious for birth again. I was like, oh, hypnobirthing's not working. Melissa, oh my gosh, I'm not meant to feel like this. I should be feeling calm. What's wrong with me? And you're like, no, I'm really glad this has happened. And you helped me work through that. And the next time I went, I felt so much better. And even walking in when I was in labor, I felt excited. There wasn't any of those nerves that were there, but you did a lot of work with me with the fear release. So would you be able to touch on that? Because I know a lot of listeners might have had one baby and had a really hard birth. let's give them some hope that they can too have a beautiful birth next
Oh gosh,
time.
there's so much. I could talk about this and talk about
I know.
So it's what we're talking is the subconscious, right? So we hold our beliefs, our values, our beliefs, our habits, etc., held in our subconscious. When you have pivotal moments in your life, whether they be really great or in some cases, and in the case of your first birth, there was trauma there, that has embedded into your subconscious. And that was driving your belief system. So what we needed to do was we needed to address your subconscious rather than your conscious, because I could sit there and I could say to you, and I had already, I'd sat opposite you and I said, but Ashy, it doesn't have to be like that this time. This is a new baby. This is a new birth. You're more informed, blah, blah, blah. And consciously you're thinking, yeah, totally, Melissa. Yeah, I agree, of course. But subconsciously you still were holding, and understandably so, you were holding these beliefs about birth. Now, it only took going to the hospital, or sometimes it's a conversation with someone or whatever, to trigger and bring up those subconscious beliefs again. So what we did, and it was, that's why I said to you, I went, no, this is good. This is good that you recognized it. So then afterwards, we used self-hypnosis. So I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist, as you know, and the hypnosis is self-hypnosis. It is part of hypnobirthing. It's a part, it's not the whole thing. It's an antenatal course, but it's one of the tools that we use, and it's a very important one. And I think it's a secret sauce. I think that's actually part of the reason why it is so effective compared to other types of antenatal education, because we do address the subconscious as well. And so what we did was we had a fear release where and it was for you and Steve, because if Steve took fears and reservations from the first birth, which you can, like, you know, obviously you both know that, like, because you and Steve are so close, you would feed off him. So if he was nervous about it and his reaction, like you could just tell, even if you had your eyes closed, just hearing his voice, if he was freaking out a little bit about what was happening, you would pick up on that and you wouldn't feel safe. And then that has this knock-on effect for the birth, because then when we don't feel safe, then we close up. And what's birth all about? Opening up. So, you know, like that's, gosh, I could talk so much about this, but that is why the fear release was a really important part of it. And it's addressing the subconscious, not wiping out your past experiences, because your past experiences have actually made you what you are. Warrior woman, beautiful mama, you know, like it's made you. Your experience with your previous birth has made you the strong, amazing woman that you are meant to be, and helps you to then be able to inspire others because of your past experiences.
Yeah, that's the gift in it.
But what you did this time is you didn't pack all of that baggage on your back and drag it into this birth. You let go of the baggage, you put it down, and you said, it subconsciously, and this is what our fear release was about, you said, I'm not going to forget Taj's birth. That was my passage. That was his passage into the world. That's the way it was, and we're both stronger for it. But that's his birth. This birth, I am going to allow my little girl to come into the world the way she is meant to. And I'm not going to bring in other people's experiences and fears and stuff. I am going to surrender to the moment, and I'm going to allow this process to happen. And what happened?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I remember you sent me a message and you just said 80% of your birth. You were so calm. Like you said, you really enjoyed, actually. You said, I really enjoyed.
I did,
stats, isn't it? When you think
about it. Amazing. Yeah, like, and with Taj's, when people go, oh, you forget the pain, like, I didn't forget that at all. But with Tala's, I only remember, like, of course, it did hurt when I was pushing out a 9-pound one baby, but I almost do forget that, because the good, like the experience, the connection, the love, like the oxytocin that I must have released, that's what I remember. Like almost when I see parents like you are about to experience that, it's almost a bit of like, oh, I want to go back and do it again, which sounds so crazy, because with Taj, it was like, it took me 7 years or 6 years to even be ready to go through that again. But with this experience, like even last night, I played the birth playlist that I had playing while I was bathing Tala and got emotional. And it brought back all those feelings of like love. Like it was a great experience. It was really beautiful. I'm excited to get to experience that again. And I want so many other women to feel like that. I want them to have a more positive experience, because I speak to women all day, every day. And I suppose that really would have been in my head as well, because I heard so many horror stories. But yeah, it's so exciting for everyone listening that you too can have a beautiful experience. It doesn't mean it's not going to hurt. It doesn't mean things might not go to plan, but it can be one that you remember and feel really proud and empowered and look back on. Yeah.
What do you think is the main pushback or reason why you've found that people avoid doing hypnobirthing, or why it may not be, taken on? Because I guess Neve is 4 and a little bit now, and I've pretty much, Clara and I are have anyone that's about to have a baby, we're always like, you better go do this. And I'd say 50% of people just are like, nah.
Good point. Good question. Yeah.
And it blows my mind. But obviously, it's just, I'm there to share, not to push. But you go, I don't know, why would you not want to feel completely empowered and calm and safe prior? It seems crazy.
Levi, that is an awesome question. And I have often reflected on that, because I want all parents to experience the sort of births that I have been blessed to experience. But it didn't come down to luck, as it didn't with yours either. We recognize we weren't lucky to have these empowered, positive birth experiences. We prepared. And that is part of it. And I like the saying, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. I love that saying, because I think that's how we've approached it. But as I've reflected on that question of why doesn't everyone just do this, I think it's fear. I think people are they're so fearful because the fear has built up through the stories and the media representations and the ways people talk about birth, like it is a massive medical event and it's one of the most dangerous times in your life, etc. And so I think we are just, we just get into this paralysis of fear. And you know the whole fight-flight response? It's fight, flight, freeze, appease response.
Freeze.
Well, I think that a lot of people, out of fear of birth, they freeze. And so they actually shut themselves off from even anything to do with it. It's like, I'm just going to freeze and let the doctors and the midwives and that deal with it. But birth is, like, we are very much an active participant in birth. And the midwives and our doctors, our obstetricians, etc., they are like the lifeguards at the beach. They are there to help us if we get in trouble. They're there. If we ask for help, they're there for us. If they see that there are indications that we're in danger, they'll come and help us. But when we go to the beach, we do not expect the lifeguards to come in with us and hold our hands and do the swimming for us. We need to take responsibility for the swimming. And I really wish more parents were able to put aside the fear which has built up through all these years, and it's not their own fault. This fear can start in school. It can be conditioned from even the stories that your parents tell you about how you came into the world. Like the fear is build up, build up, build up, build up. And I really, it's my dear wish that more parents are able to put that aside and to actually, I guess, have the ability to step into their power, because we actually all do have a lot of power, but we have to make that conscious decision to step into it.
I think that's what I did too. And I thought for some reason there wasn't a lot of talk about hypnobirthing back when I had Taj. Like not a lot of my friends had done. I think Megan might have been the only one. But I also thought that hypnobirthing meant birth plan, and birth plan to me was really scary because I thought if I make a plan and the plan doesn't happen and it goes another way, I feel like I failed then. And it was obviously my own beliefs and storytelling back then. But I thought I'd rather just go and not have a plan, just trust my body, but whatever happens, happens, and that's what's meant to be. But it was also a way to avoid like really leaning in and learning about it. And I think I was also scared that I wouldn't understand it all. I don't know. There was definitely a lot of fear.
There was definitely a lot of fear.
Fear.
Yeah.
It was so fear-based, right?
Yeah.
All my choices were revolved around fear.
Yeah.
We're so hard on ourselves, aren't we? You know, for you to think that, you think about how you inspire others to live their healthiest, best life. And yet you had that fear yourself. Thank you for showing your vulnerability to others, sharing that, Ashy. But it shows even someone such as you and others look up to you and they go, oh my gosh, if only I could have the discipline that Ashy has. And if only I could, you know, eat healthily and I had the discipline to be able to eat healthily and to work out like Ashy does. And yet even you doubted yourself. Doesn't that say something? We are just our own worst critics.
We're all humans, aren't we? I feel like I love the word humanize at the moment.
Yeah.
Just like we all need to humanize ourselves, not put other people on pedestals, not expect ourselves to be X, Y, Z or perfect or know it all. We're all humans. We're all navigating it all together, aren't we?
We are. We're winging it.
Yeah. We are. Love that.
I've got a theory around this, like this question, I suppose, in regards to that. Again, when it comes to parenting, partnering, personing, it really is like if you look at the example you just gave, it's I'm fearful. I need someone else to control, right? Like we've seen the movie where it's like the doctor delivers the baby when really the woman delivers the baby and has been doing it for. But then we look at partnering, right? A toxic, or not a toxic, but you've got an internal where I take responsibility for my actions in my relationship, or you've got the other one where it goes, you need to change and our relationship will be better. And then you've got, from a health point of view, I'm going to proactively exercise or eat well, or that's just genetics. It's just genetics.
My whole family's like this.
Yeah, and I'll wait till I get the medication, and that will make it. It's sort of all three: birthing, partnering, and health. They're tied in together, and I can see how. This is why I'm so excited about hypnobirthing as well. Is when somebody has a positive hypnobirthing, I feel like it's starting to teach them that personal accountability and that preparation to be proactive in their relationships and also in their. And then when we're talking to people about health, it's like, oh, I can take accountability and ownership. So now I can do this in my parenting journey too. Yeah. I feel like it's all the same a little bit. Anyway.
Yeah, it does. It does interconnect, doesn't it? It's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's all about taking responsibility, really, isn't it? And how much knowledge is power,
and
awareness.
Feeling empowered and safe. Empowered and safe.
Yeah. I hypnobirth every day. Every single day I use the skills that I learnt because I've hypnobirthed my 3 babies. And I use different aspects that in every day, even if it's things like, well, one of the tools that we teach is affirmations. And as you both know, and affirmations are just positive statements, like talking about what you want instead of about what you don't want. So I use affirmations in my everyday life. I write affirmations on Post-it notes and I stick them on the mirror. I have a little affirmation card pack that I'll every now and then, if I'm feeling a bit down or I think, oh, what do I need to focus on today? I'll shuffle the pack and I'll pull out an affirmation card. But whether it's that, whether it's the breathing, whether it's, oh gosh, there's just so many tools that we learn through the hypnobirthing, and the tools aren't just physical, they're mental and emotional. And it comes down to doing it as a team as well. So when you know as the birthing mother and the birth partner that you can do something that is so important, just so important. What is, I know I'm biased here, but tell me, what could be more important than bringing your baby into the world in a safe and positive, loving way? Like, is there? I can't think of anything. Can you think of anything more important than that?
No. Such a big, beautiful, important moment.
Yeah.
So if you can bring your baby into the world and you work together towards this, you prepare for it, you educate yourself, etc. And you can bring your baby into the world in the most important time. You know that you can then apply this to your everyday life. And when you do have challenges within your family, with outside of your family, even finances, like any type of challenges that come up, you can actually apply the same mindset and the same skills to all these different potential challenges in life. And I've found that
it's so
amazing.
true. Even the affirmations, like, you've heard of affirmations, but I didn't really utilize them that much. But you're right. And what you focus on is what you feel. So even on the way to the hospital, we put on the MP3 track of the affirmations and just hearing all of those again. And we played it like when we first got into the hospital, just to have those in my mind and refreshing rather than, you know, maybe feeling a little bit scared. It's just, that's what I was focusing on. So that's what I felt. And I felt so calm that whole process because of that. That's just one of the tools that you learn in hypnobirthing. And you can take that into any area of your life.
Yeah, just keep your eyes on the prize. And also the importance of that whole remaining calm when you do have some challenges in birth and in life. Because if we make decisions based on fear, we make decisions which are short-term decisions. It's that whole fight, flight, freeze, appease response. It's like, okay, I have a potential threat ahead of me, get the danger away from me now. So, in a birth, that plays out as get the baby out now. However you get it out, just get the baby out now. In life,
give me the pain relief right now, don't give me a chance to breathe through it.
Yeah.
So when you learn about that, and you do learn about it in our course, you have more of an understanding, and sometimes it's the partner who has to remind the birthing mother too, because we just get into this primal part of our brain when we're birthing, and we switch off our neocortex, and we're just coping. We're just doing what we can to cope. So our partner becomes our neocortex during the birth, and they're the analytical ones. They're the ones that are thinking. They're the ones that are remembering. Fight, flight, freeze, appease response, here we go. But applying that whole fight, flight, freeze, appease to parenting too and life, you have a challenge that comes up in your life, a potential, what could be seen as a potential threat. It's having the skills, because you've learned it through birth and you've applied it to birth so well. It's being able to apply those skills to your decision making in the future as well. And so you take a breath, you calm yourself down, and then you go through, all right, what are the different ways that we can deal with this potential situation? What are the benefits? What are the risks? What are the alternatives? What does my instinct tell me? Is it an option to just wait for a while? Do we need to be reactive with this? Do we need to make a decision? Do we need to do something straight away? Or can we sit on this for a bit and just keep calm? So when you apply, that's just another aspect that we learn in our Hypnobirthing Australia course. But when you apply that to life, it actually helps you to have an easier life, I believe.
Definitely. Can make more informed decisions that you're clear and you're conscious about, and that match what you truly value, not just reacting out of fear.
100%.
I don't think many people realise how much of a part fear plays in our decision making through life.
100%. It's
all day.
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to say, is there an exercise that, if there's someone watching at the moment that's like, maybe heard of it, is interested, but, they've maybe talked to their family and they're like, no, just go with what you know, etc. Is there anything that we can do a little short thing that might be like, okay, this is similar to something you might learn where, it just helps us feel calm. Is there anything you can think of that might be useful that we could do together now?
Yeah, well, I can talk you through a little relaxation if you like. We could all do with that, as long as people aren't listening to this as a podcast and driving, in which case I don't want them to steer off the road.
My whole pregnancy, you'd put me to sleep with your the downloads you know, the
Yeah.
meditations. Listen to you like every single night of my pregnancy. I would never listen to when driving. So relaxed.
That's so funny. Or yeah, we can I can take you through the quickest way to relax, to get yourself into a calm place. So you can apply this to the next time you go to the dentist. You can apply this to next time you're feeling a little bit
going for a job interview.
yeah, any time in life you can apply this. This is the easiest, quickest way of bringing yourself into a calmer place so that your parasympathetic part of the nervous system becomes a dominant part of your nervous system. That's your calm and relax, your rest and digest, right? So, are you ready?
Love that. Okay, let's do it.
So complicated. Okay, here we go. Just allow your eyes to gently close. Don't hold them shut. Don't force them shut. Just allow them to gently close, unless you're driving, in which case keep them open. And rest your tongue lightly behind your front upper teeth, where your palate and your teeth meet. And when you do this, your whole jaw region relaxes. And you'll feel the rest of your body just following suit. Feel the relaxation flow over your face, down your neck, across your shoulders. Feel your shoulders just sinking into the frame of your body. And now focus on your breath. Taking a deep breath in through your nose, drawing that breath in, and pause. And now a longer breath out, 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 out. And again, deep breath in, pause, and then a longer breath out using diaphragmatic breathing. And once more, breath in and pause, and then breath out. And now you are in a calm state. And so we're going to come back to the present again. When you're ready, opening your eyes, feeling calm, feeling centered, feeling relaxed. You are now at a point where you can make very, very conscious decisions because you are in a calm state.
Just completely just relaxes your whole nervous system.
So much.
Like if someone was to attack me right now, a troll online, a crazy 7-year-old,
Yeah.
I would be calm. It really is.
Yeah, if something crazy like that did happen, you would be more able to react in a really effective way. That's like martial arts, isn't it? It's being calm, it's being centered, it's being in the moment.
And what was that, a minute or two?
Yeah, what was that? It felt like 2 seconds, but it was probably 2 minutes, was it maybe? But I mean, we should all do that before like eating.
Yeah, that was just a minute or two. And all I did was rest your tongue behind your front upper teeth. That's a bit of a hack because when you do that, your whole jaw region relaxes. And then you just inform your body that it's going to follow suit. So you relax this, and then you can visualize the relaxation over your face, down your neck, across your shoulders. Feel your shoulders sink into your body. And then focus on your breathing. Breathing, it's life. So a nice breath in through your nose, pause, longer breath out. That is the quickest and easiest way to bring yourself into a place of calm. Of course, we have MP3s that you can listen to that are wonderful, long play MP3s and all of that. You know, there's lots of fantastic ways that you can get into a very deep place of calm, but that's just a quick way that you can use anytime.
And I remember you saying too in hypnobirthing, which obviously, yeah, if anyone's listening, I really hope this inspires and empowers them to go and do the course. But the more relaxed your jaw and face is, the more relaxed your pelvis is going to be. And that, once again, is all about opening up. If we tighten and tense our face, then it tightens everything else as well. So the more you do breathe and relax in your face, everything else does follow, which is going to help with each contraction, each surge, sorry. Yeah, so even just that for a couple of minutes, it relaxes your whole
It's amazing.
body.
It's like there's this invisible piece of string between your jaw and your pelvis. So if you clench your teeth right now and you let out a little grunt, like, you can actually feel it tensing down there around your pelvis. Yeah,
you do. You tense everything.
So that is the first step when we have our surges, contractions, surges, waves. When we have those, we rest our tongue behind our front upper teeth. We do our breathing. We've got different breathing techniques. That was just the relaxation breath that I took you through then. But we do our breathing and we just relax our whole body. We just flop our body because we're allowing, we're surrendering. We're not fighting against this. This is unfortunately what happens. A lot of birthing women feel that they need to get the baby out, and that's what the media has told us we need to do too. But you know what, like,
get this baby out of me.
yeah, but
there is a moment where I wanted the baby through transition. I was like, get it out.
Transition, isn't that something?
Transition. You know it's close though. I remember you saying when you get to that point where you're like, I can't do this, you can, because you're that close. And it was right. It was like probably half an hour before she actually came out. I remember just being like, cut me open.
And isn't that a lesson for life too? Life's like that. Just at a time where you think, I'm going to give up. I can't handle this any longer. Like, just persisting and getting
a breakdown. There's a breakthrough.
Yeah.
When you hit rock bottom or you go through something really hard, you're going to come out the other side with all lessons and ready to look at it differently. And when you hit that transition point, you're ready.
Yeah, it's just so in alignment with how we live our lives.
Yeah.
So what got you into or create like the hypnobirthing? Like you said, you've done hypnobirthing for all three of your children. So what was the driver to go, okay, this is something I need? Like how did it happen?
I'm just going to go toilet, but I have got to keep going.
So I'm a bit of a chicken with pain, and I didn't think I'd be able to birth without being totally traumatized by the pain of birth. I was scared of the pain of birth. And I really wanted to have a natural birth if possible. I was open to medical, if I needed different medical interventions, I was open to it. I wasn't saying, oh, it's natural or nothing, but I knew that was the best way if you can have a natural birth. Like, there's less recovery and everything, that it's good for your baby, it's good for you, etc. But I was just my pain threshold. I didn't think I'd be able to do it. So my husband actually found out about using hypnosis for birth, and I'd never used hypnosis before. But again, I was open to it because, anything that could help. So my husband and I went and saw this beautiful hypnotherapist naturopath. We had to travel a fair distance because this is 17 years ago. So it wasn't very popular. It wasn't around very much back then. And we saw her privately, and it just completely flipped my thinking. It flipped my thinking to common sense because, as you know, it's common sense. What we teach in the Hypnobirthing Australia, of course, is common sense. But when you've been fed all this other stuff for so long, you start to actually think illogically about birth, and that's where I was. So I needed to inform myself in order to be able to let go of this fear that I had about pain. And I learnt the techniques. I used it for my first birth. They were so amazed. The midwife came into the room afterwards because, being a first-time mum, they're expecting me to be really distraught and, screaming and all this. And I was actually quite calm through it. And I had a really positive birth. And the midwife came in afterwards and sheepishly asked me if I was a Scientologist. Because she had heard that Scientologists had these silent births, and she thought that I was silent because of some religious, that I had to. And I went, no. I said, no, I used hypnobirthing. And she's like, what is that? But this is 17 years ago. So now a lot more caregivers know about hypnobirthing. So I then, after that, I took what I learnt and I ran with it, and I combined it with building up a lot of knowledge, because I'm a teacher. So I love building up my knowledge about different topics. I like to go in informed. I like to be really prepared. So I prepared with building up my knowledge from birthing advocates from all over the world, really learnt the research, the evidence behind different interventions, so that I could make informed decisions along the way. And then I coupled this with mindset training. And I did understand the importance of that, because I also have a drama degree, and that has actually helped me in preparing your mind. It's kind of like method acting, if you like. You prepare, you get yourself into a character role. So I'd already done that for my drama degree. And then I was able to apply it to birth, of getting myself into a role, unlearning my preconceptions of birth from the past, and actually learning the truth, and then preparing myself for it. So I got better and better at it. So by my third birth, I was only at the hospital for 40 minutes. It's pretty efficient by that stage. My labor wasn't 40 minutes long. It was still, but I was comfortable staying at home for as long as possible. And I had such awesome births. They were intense. I'm not saying that they were a walk in the park. And I'm a chicken, right, with pain. So they were intense, but they were doable. And it made total sense to me that women have been giving birth since the beginning. And we didn't always have epidurals and morphine and all of that, and cesareans. I'm glad we have all of that now, by the way. I'm not anti-medicine. I think it's great as a backup. Use medicine as the backup, not the default. But I was able to just prepare myself for these awesome births, really positive births. And then I had it's just one of those moments where I just thought, I have to share this. I think it is criminal that women are experiencing what I could have. I could have gone down that track. I could easily have been that person. But luckily, my husband saw an article, and I kind of went down a different path. I'm so grateful. And then I actually thought, like, hypnobirthing, it sounds so hippie. And I just thought, but I'm probably a hippie at heart, but I'm not outwardly I'm open, but and I'm educated. And I thought, well, I think maybe this whole hypnobirthing, it's coming across as really fringe and really, really alternative, and it actually isn't. And I want more women to experience this sort of birth. So I just went on a crusade to create a program which is very evidence-based, I also have an education degree too. So I used my education experience to write a proper course that's engaging, that links back to the evidence for all the tools, etc. That it's not fear-based, it's actually positive, and it's open to all types of births. It's not about a birth plan, it's about birth preferences, and it's about making decisions so that you can gear your birth towards your preferences. So I guess I am on a bit of a crusade. I had not complete change of career. I've always been in education and that, but I left teaching completely, and I just sat up on my kitchen bench with 3 children under the age of 4, and I went, right, I'm going to change this. I want more families to have access to this, and I have just gone forth. That was how long? 13, lucky 13. That was 13 years ago. Yeah.
I love that too. And I love, because you're just so passionate. Like, when I was telling my friend Nadine to hire you, I was like, she's just so passionate. And when Meg had put me on to you, she's like, she's just so passionate. I said the same thing. I said, I really want Mel on here because she's so passionate. But I don't know, in a business too, I feel like, the boss or CEOs or whatever, it trickles down. And even if my friends haven't used you, but they've used someone who's done your course, they also are just so passionate. Yeah. They really believe in this. They really they're the same as you. They want women to have a really positive, beautiful experience. And it's so awesome to see this movement. I do believe that people look at it as more hippie, but it's just because you're closed-minded.
Maybe it's the name too. Because it could easily be called mindful birthing or conscious birthing, right?
Because the old Ashy would have said this is too hippie for me. and I was just closed-minded and scared. So I relate. I'm not judging anyone that thinks that, because I used to think that as well. But yeah, maybe it's the word. I don't know. But it's cool that more people are talking about it and breaking it down, even in this podcast. Being like, oh, I actually use breathing in other situations. Or yeah, I go to a personal trainer fitness. Why would I not hire someone to help me through my birth? Like, it's not weird or hippie or
It's all
anything
about
like that. It's
education,
actually
though,
just,
isn't it? Because things that we've
yeah.
all thought are pretty, like, okay, aromatherapy, that's become pretty mainstream now, aromatherapy, but it wasn't 10 years or 20 years ago. So maybe it just takes, like, exactly what the three of us are doing right now, and that is bringing it to people's attention. And that's how it was through an article that it was brought to my attention. It was through friends for both of you that it was brought to your attention. And maybe there will be some people listening to this podcast who might even just mention it to a friend who's pregnant. And I actually, so the logo, see how it's got dandelions on it? So a good friend of mine, who's my neighbour, when I started Hypnobirthing Australia from my little kitchen bench under the flight path at Tugun. And my neighbour is a graphic artist, Paul, and he was when I lived there. And he sat down with me and said, okay, I'll design a logo for you. And he said, close your eyes, which is so like me, because, I love visualising. He said, just close your eyes and tell me what comes to mind for the logo. But he didn't even say for logo. He said, just tell me what comes to mind. Think about your business. Think about what you want to do, what you want to achieve, who you want to reach, and just tell me what comes to mind. And I did that, and I opened my eyes and I said, Paul, this is a bit weird, right? But I saw myself as a 3-year-old in the front yard at mum and dad's house, and it was a field of dandelions because dad hadn't mowed the lawn for a while, which as a 3-year-old I was very excited about. And I was picking dandelion bulbs and I was blowing them. And that became the logo. And I then analysed it ages later. I was a bit slow here about what does that actually mean? Why? And now that I think of it, it is when you blow the bulb of a dandelion, you are spreading the seeds just through a gentle breath. And that's what we're doing. Like, it's amazing how the subconscious works. That's what we're doing at Hypnobirthing Australia through our word and through each of us, all conscious parents all over Australia, New Zealand, and the world. And we are spreading that word about positive birth far and wide. And it's just gently, just through a breath.
Oh, I love that. That's a really cool story.
It's a calming image too when you imagine yourself as a little kid in a field of dandelions too, right?
And I definitely used to blow dandelions when I was a little girl. That's beautiful. Do you have any other questions for Mel?
No, just the last thing that you said of preparing women for a positive birth. I'm just going to just add in that it is definitely men too.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
And the thing I didn't say about, I said that it was really helpful to have something to do. But because there was that preference thing, and because, as a guy, sometimes you're nervous just to go, I know you need to breathe right now, but I don't want to say it because I don't want to get my head bitten off. But because you've both agreed to it prior and it's a preference and it's your job to do that, you feel completely like it's okay, and you still got a little bit back, but it was part. And so it just made, I feel like as almost passionate as you about it, because it's just such a positive way to bring kids into the world.
It's interesting you say that, because I posted a video up on my TikTok and it's got 2.5 million views, and it was just me leaning over Steve and I was just like humming, almost just like breathing through it. And the amount of comments, there's thousands of them just being like, I wanted to kill my husband. Like, how do you want to touch him? But yeah, because we were this team, and yes, he didn't understand the pain I was going through, but he understood the process and he learned so much from you. I felt like he was so connected to what I was going through that we were going through it together.
I was on Clara the whole time virtually, and you can, you can feel when they tense up, and you can, like it feels like you're feeling a micro amount through that, and
100%.
you feel like you can, and then you can feel when they calm through that process too, and you're like, well done, that's it, you're softening, good.
And your education behind all of that, and same as Steve, I just felt like he he wasn't experiencing the physical, but he did understand what I was going through because of what he had learned. And I felt that. So when he did tell me to breathe, it wasn't like, you don't know what I'm talking about. It was like, yes, so he has learned this is what's happening at this stage. And he'd remind me. So I did feel like he understood.
Yeah.
So,
and like pain is an over focus on self. When the dad's disconnected, and I've had this story when I've compared to other mates, they're outside or they're just sitting and watching it, and they're getting super anxious themselves. Like, I hope she's okay. But because we're in there and we're not focused on what we're feeling at all, we're focused on you. There's zero. I felt zero anxiety or anything because I was just concentrating. I wasn't aware of me. I'm more in her, and it was like way to get that. It was such a cool technique if it was planned or whatever, to get me out of focusing on, God, is the baby going to be all right? What's going on? You know?
It's so important for the dads as well. Definitely. Really good point. Now, for anyone listening that wants to do the course or wants to get in contact with you, because I mean, I get DMs all the time being like, who was your coach? I know there's obviously thousands of people that have done your course. Where do they go? Who do they go to? What's from here?
Well, I'm the director of Hypnobirthing Australia. So, and I run limited classes, but they're pretty limited. However, we have over 350 practitioners all throughout Australia, New Zealand, overseas. And so there are equally passionate practitioners everywhere. I think Shari taught you, is that right? Yeah, so Shari...
Yeah, and she was incredible.
Shari is one of our practitioners. Like, we've got some really awesome. They were all awesome, actually, because, you know, I make sure that
you taught them. And you're awesome.
I actually screen who teaches this program because it's a reflection on me too and on the program. So we want to make sure the right people are teaching this program, and we have got the right people teaching this program. So you can go to the hypnobirthingaustralia.com.au website, and there you can find a class. So you can find your closest practitioner. I've been very passionate about training people in not just city areas, but also regional and rural areas too. So we are the most widespread childbirth education course in Australia, as well as the most popular. More parents do our course than any other childbirth course, hypnobirthing or not. But we also have online versions of the course too, which is fantastic because not everyone can go to a face-to-face class. And you can also do like a hybrid version where you do the online course and you see via Zoom or personally a practitioner, just to, you know, personalize it as well. So there's lots of options. They're all on the website.
That's so cool that you can do online, you can do one-on-one, you can do group setting. There's like, I know there's a condensed week one, or like I broke it up and we did it every fortnight because I wanted to like process things and practice things and write down more questions. There's so many options to suit everyone's personalities and schedules and lifestyles. So, well, thank you so much for coming on board. I was so excited to have you on and for everyone to learn from you and feel your energy and passion. I feel like it makes you excited to learn more when you're listening to someone so passionate.
Thank you.
I love it. So thank you so much. Really
thank
appreciate
you very
it.
much. And if there's any mamas out there who are expecting, I just want to send out my best wishes to you, and just remember your breathing. Just remember to release and surrender. If you've got time, and you do have time, I learned hypnobirthing at 37 weeks, so you've got time.
I was going to say, I had a mum, which I messaged you about, and she was like, I'm 38 weeks. Like, is it too late? And I was like, never too late.
No.
Never too late. You can reset. You might not give birth till 42 weeks. You've got plenty of time up your sleeve. Like, never too late. So, yeah.
Thank you to both of you also for spreading the word of positive birth, because if this message gets to even one person, though I know it will get to a lot more than one, but even if it changes one family's life, we've done our job. So thank you.
100%. I always say that, like, my driving force of like why I show up online every single day is if I can impact or help one person, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
thank you for joining us.
Bye.